I am positively Kris Pace, and you are actively listening to Conversations with Kris.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's Kris. Another podcast. I know you guys are sick of them, but these people are too amazing to not have conversations with, so I have to do this. And today we got another amazing girl who is just absolutely incredible and quite possibly the youngest guest I've ever had on the show, but maybe not by maturity, but by age. And she's got an incredible story, and I'd like to share it with you guys, and I'd like her to share it with you guys. So, Hope, please tell us a summary of yourself so that we know what we're going to talk about today.
For sure. Hi, my name is Hope Mercedes. I am 20 years old. I'm one of the band members in my band called Mythology. That is the main kind of stuff I like to do is music. I'm just a recent artist and stuff, but I've had a long list of careers that hopefully helps add to this podcast with Kris.
Yeah, no doubt you have. You have done a lot of things for someone that's 20 years old. I got to be honest, I thought I did a lot of stuff in my life by 20, but it doesn't even compare to yours. And so I'm
Oh,
so
thank
excited
you.
to have you on the show. I think you're going to do amazing with this because you obviously have the charisma and everything else. So let's get started. Let's find out. So, music is your passion, huh? You've always found your way back to it. What started you in music and what made you get into that? Like, how did you find that passion?
Absolutely. Well, it all started many, many years ago when I guess from what I've been told is I was just performing everywhere. I don't know, like state like little in like grocery stores, lines, beaches, like literally anywhere I could, I would stand up and I'd sing. I have no memory of this, however. But my my
Like all
abuelita and
superstars, right? Their parents are like, yeah, she was three, dancing on the speaker with a microphone.
mhm.
No idea about
Yeah, with my two younger sisters actually. So I have a younger sister named Chase in Carrington, and we were thick as thieves, still are to this day.
That's amazing.
But yeah, we went on a family vacation to Mexico, and we started performing. And my abuelita had a couple margaritas with my mom, and which, by the way, abuelita is grandmother. So yeah, she had a couple, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, these girls should be singers," and that's I'm not joking. That's literally how it
So
started.
it was the
And so
margaritas and the grandmother that made you. Let me tell you,
pretty
that's
much, yeah.
not usually the typical recipe for finding superstars. So odd combo, but I like the story. Let's go.
Yeah, no, it's almost like my grandma was a scout agent. She's like, "These girls, we
How
got
many
them."
margaritas did she have when she heard you sing?
I have no idea.
That's a
I was a
lot of
terrible singer when I was younger. I look back at all these videos and I'm like, if that was my daughter, no.
you
Like I would support her, but how these guys supported me is insane. I give everything to my parents because
Well,
nails
sometimes
on chalkboard.
parents can see things in their kids that their kids can't see in their kids and themselves. And so, like, obviously, getting into music, grandma and the margaritas in Mexico. What'd you do from there? Did you start playing instruments? You start singing? You said you're a terrible singer, right? Did you fine tune it,
Very.
change over time, or you
uh,
sing?
At 16, I think I got a better voice, but it actually just started with the piano. So we flew back from Mexico, and my mom instantly put us in Spanish classes because that's my family on my mom's side is Peruvian and Mexican, and then on my dad's side is Irish. So I'm a bit of an interesting mix.
You live in
And I
Canada,
think
right?
I do, yes,
But you learn
from
Mexican.
Canada.
Okay, I'm
So
gonna go
Canadian born with
Mexico.
Irish and Spanish
Got
blood.
it. In Canada.
Hmm.
Check. I'm following.
Yeah, anywho, so yeah, we fly back. We start taking Spanish classes, and then my mom put us in piano. She's like, "Well, you need to play an instrument. You can't just like sing and perform and dance." And so we started just. I don't know. I was like 3 years old. I was in this piano thing, and one of my teachers was like, "Oh, we're gonna do like a composition," and she ended up submitting it into this competition. I can't remember its name, but it ended up I remember the title of my song though. It was Sparkles and Rainbows,
Aw.
and I wrote it with lyrics and a little melody on the piano, and I had sheet music too, so it was all like printed off properly, and I won third place for Western Canada,
What?
which
You're a
I was so
songwriter?
surprised at.
You wrote the
Well, I
lyrics?
was 3,
Oh, okay.
so
For three?
it
For
was
3 years old?
Well, it was like sparkles and rainbows. I love
Okay,
it.
but
Like
you're
it
still
was.
3, okay? 3-year-olds aren't writing music and songs and performing and winning. That's
That's true.
amazing.
Well, thank you.
I couldn't do that.
Uh,
I'm about a 3. So kudos,
you know what? Fair enough.
congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Honestly, I appreciate it. I start looking at everyone else's careers, and there's a lot of talented people, but I believe that everyone is it has an important role, and they just need to figure out their skill and actually fine tuning it. And mine just happened to be music. I think. I hope.
Yeah, you were mentioning before we started the cast that you have tried a lot of other things, but you've always ended up going back to music and never could get away from it. And so you'd stick with the piano, or did you play other instruments? What happened after 3 years old?
Well, at I think it was 6 or 9. It was one of those two. Don't quote me on that technically. But I started playing the guitar and getting into guitar lessons. And then from there, I was a bit of a band geek in middle school and only middle school. And then, but I was so much of a band geek that I was an honor band for percussion. And that's where I learned how to play the drums.
Okay, percussion, guitar, so we're drums, guitar, piano, Mexico, Canada, Irish, Peru, Spanish. You're bilingual?
Well, I was better at it when I was younger and in high school when I was taking it more frequently, but now I'm just out here in Canada and there's not a lot of people who just want to speak Spanish to the white girl, to be honest.
Why I asked why you learned Spanish, because I'm like, so a lot of people running around Canada talking in Spanish like
Yeah.
that. Not exactly used.
No, so
I
it's a
even
little hard to keep up on, but
you got to practice, and there's no one to practice with. Can you hear?
sorry. Yeah, I tapped my headphones to like push it in, but it muted it.
Yeah, no, they so say there's not a lot of people in Canada running around that speak Spanish. That's why I was wondering why they taught you Spanish. But it's like me, I went to Japan for the military, and when I was in Japan, I learned Japanese, which, being there for a couple of years, it wasn't I wasn't like fluent, but I was like a child type, but I could get by. And then I came back to the States, and people were like, "Do you still know Japanese?" I'm like, "No, that was like 20 something years ago, and there's nobody in Florida that I can practice with." So
No,
then
as
I
soon
went
as
back
you're
to
like immersed in it, it's so easy. If you're away from it, it's so hard. And Japanese is even harder.
I
Jeez.
went to I went to Japan though a few years ago, and I literally got off the airplane, went through customs immigration, and walked up to a counter and ordered bus tickets in Japanese, and was like, "How did I say that? How did I know what I was saying?" And I was like, it was still there. I just didn't know how to access it, and I never had anybody to try. So it just popped out. And I was like, "Whoa, that was cool. That was really weird." But anyway, we got drums, we got guitar, we got piano. You're cruising along. What's happening now? We're 10.
Yeah, actually, yeah, about 10 years old. Sounds about right. And oh no, we were at middle school. We were at middle school. I was about 14 when I got accepted to honor band.
Band.
But yeah, I learned not like great, but like all the other kind of instruments like trumpet, trombone, flute. My little sister's actually really good at flute, clarinet,
Nice.
all those stuff. So I know like little bits and pieces because I feel like once you know music and the basics of it, you can kind of adapt it and apply it to a lot of other instruments.
Okay.
Like for sheet music and piano, you can read violin music, you can read harp music, you can read guitar music too. It's just in my head and my opinion, way more complicated.
You want to know what I know about music? Spotify. That's what I know. Which is why I'm trusting
Well,
you
yeah.
to do a very, very important task, which we'll talk about later. But so you're
Yes.
cruising through middle school as a band geek. Now we have to go ahead and jump forward a few years real quick, and then we're gonna segue the gap in between, okay? So now I'm
Okay.
picturing 14-year-old Hope. She's a band geek, she's in honor band, and then I see you with a picture of you and Dana White at a UFC event, and you're the ring girl. Okay, so there's a big difference here, right? We've got a huge gap, and we got to fill that in. But let's talk about the UFC Dana White picture, and then we'll backtrack how you got from band geek to that, because I bet that's never happened
Absolutely.
before. I bet you there's no one else in the world who went from band geek to ring girl in the UFC. That's amazing.
Little different, but yeah. So I always wanted, like, my parents were huge UFC, like, just fans, big UFC, like that whole that UFC competition for like number one fight fan, like years ago.
Reality show.
Yeah, my mom was like
Uh,
up there. I have so many photos and pictures and posters, and my mom's like, no, you have to post and pose in this photo with me. And I wanted to. It was my mom. I was happy to do it. But yeah, no, I have like all these photos of us being younger, being like, we're gonna meet Dana White. Frankie Edgar was on there as well. And then like a bunch of list of other people. But those were the two I actually ended up meeting on that list.
Oh, they were both on the checklist, huh?
Yeah, they were both on the checklist,
That's
ironically. So we have all these photos, and I always wanted to. I was like, well, I can't fight. My mom was a fighter. I love her for it. She's super tough, but I don't want to get punched in the face. I don't want to get hurt. So I was like, okay, what can I do that like they involved that? And I was like, oh my gosh, I could be a ring girl. I just have to get in shape. And so I went to the gym for like the longest time. And then my mom turned us on this vegan diet. Then she turned us on the carnivore diet, which, in my opinion, the carnivore diet was like 1,000 times better.
Yeah, we
Like,
talked about that. I didn't know you were preparing for ring card when you told me that you gained a bunch of weight doing the vegan diet and then turned around and did
yep.
the carnivore diet and lost all the weight. And while you were doing the vegan diet, you were working out but still gained weight. And then you did work out on the carnivore diet and lost weight. And now you became ring card girl. I'm putting the pieces together.
Yeah.
I got it following.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I was doing that. And so when I applied, it was my 18th birthday. And I was like, okay, I can apply. And what the thing is with the States and Canada, you got to be 21 years old to apply to the UFC to be a ring girl, because they go to a house, you got this training, you got TV exposure, you have to be an adult. And I was like, well, damn, I don't want to wait. So I looked at Canada and I was like, okay, well, I need experience. They're not just going to let me in the UFC and stuff. Like, I need experience. And that still is a goal of mine to do that. But my dad was like, well, always start at the top and then work your way down. You always ask for the top position, always ask for the biggest company, the top one in the game. And then if they say no, okay, big deal, you work your way down.
Exactly.
And so I applied, and Unified MMA ended up being the top Canadian fight promotion across Canada, right? And so I applied and I submitted my resume, which was, in my opinion, like, I thought it was like okay, mid at best, but ended it up.
You're a band geek until you're 14. You did. I mean, how much resume could you apply?
Well, there's a funny story when I was 16, but to, in a sense, finish this story,
good.
I applied. They thought my resume was great and awesome, so they're like, "Oh, absolutely, let's do an interview, actually, because like we'll see kind of where we want to put you." And she said, okay, for this first event that I was at, she's like, the ring girls have already been booked like 2 months in advance. She's like, however, I need an assistant. And so this was the business manager of Unified MMA, who I still applaud for. I think she's an amazing businesswoman. And she helped me with like so much stuff, with just how to go about in life in the business world as a woman. She was like one of the main ones that, other than my mom, aside, because she's number one. But she was one of the main workers that I worked for that I really applaud.
Your mom's a fighter, so you learned a lot from her, but you needed somebody else to teach you some of the other stuff, right?
You always need other people and second opinions, right? So she was one of them, and so I ended up being her assistant to help this event. And so I go to this first event for Unified, and I loved it. Instantly, it was amazing. My whole family bought tickets to go to the show because they're like, oh my God, Hope's working it. Like, we got to go support her. And so they ended up, for this one show, because it was at the BMO Center and it wasn't at a casino, they let minors in. So my little sisters actually got to attend that one, which I thought was awesome.
Amazing. Good for them.
Yeah. But yeah, from there, I'll kind of wrap things up. I ended up working my way to get her role. So then about a year later, I was the business manager for Unified MMA.
Wow, that's amazing. You progressed
Yeah.
that quickly, huh? That's like impossible, isn't it?
It was, I found it really nice that they wanted to put their trust, because I was 19 at the time. And I was like, there's no way.
The business manager, huh? But
it was a little unbelievable for me. It was a great Christmas present.
So your 18th birthday, you applied. By 19, you're the business manager.
Yeah.
And then you met Dan.
And so, yes, and here's where he comes in. So my first event that I planned, and I like knew what she did, and I was a ring girl for the boxing event when I was 18, and I had all that stuff. And from there, I just kind of like did every position possible underneath the business manager. So by the time they were like, hey, you know every role, something happened. Do you want to do you want this role? I was like, of course I do. Of course I do. Like, that's so sad that she has to move on, but like, oh my gosh, yes, thank you. And my first event, they're like, okay, by the way, Dana White's coming and he's going to be like putting on a show called Dana White Looking for a Fight. We have to plan this event and it has to be good.
No, for sure.
Do not mess up.
And
So
you're
I actually
19
helped
years old?
plan the event that he attended. Yeah.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So you had
No, it was a lot.
he showed up, and then Freddie, what's his name?
Frankie Edgar.
Frankie Edgar showed up too.
Yeah, so it was
Two of the
him,
people on
a
the
crew
list
team,
had.
and then there was like 2 other people, including Frankie. And I feel terrible not remembering, but this is again like a year and a half ago now.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to remember every name. I'm terrible. I remember their faces. I don't remember.
When you're 20 years old, that's a large fraction of your life. So it's like, hey, you know what? It's whatever. You know, you can't remember everybody's name, and you're busy, and you're under a lot of pressure, and you have a lot of things going on. So you remember the 2 people that were on the list, and that's what's important.
Yeah.
The other guys were on the list, so they'll understand. Especially when they see you in the UFC a few years from now, and they go, "Hey, Hope, we saw you on that podcast, and why didn't you remember our name?"
I hope they see this. That would be absolutely amazing, but I would feel terrible.
Don't. I have brain injury. I forget everyone's name, including my own. So let's step back to 14. Being geek turned business manager for MMA in Canada, hanging out with Dana White, which now we know how that all happened. But what happened in between to get you from 14 being geek to business manager at 19?
So I believe why Amy really wanted Eric, I guess, like accepted me was because of my resume. Because before that, COVID happened. I was about 15 and everyone had to go home. We were all under quarantine and we just all had to do like this online schooling. And I was like, this is easy. I got this. I actually can be more productive in my day, do like 2-3 hours of schoolwork, be done, and then move on with my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, accomplish things.
So I fast tracked and I looked at my parents. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just going to go to college early. They're like, no, you're not. And I was like, yes, I am. And then my mom's like, you know what? Actually, you probably will. And we kind of laughed about it.
So
and they're like, okay, well, where would you want to go?
What age did you finish high school at?
Technically, I still finished at 17. Well, I found a loophole in the system.
But you were done with everything earlier?
Yes. So college was how it worked is I finished grade 10, just like how everyone normally would. I did it on the Zoom calls. However, grade 11 and then part of grade 12, I finished in 5 months. Wow. With the help of all of my family. I bless their souls, all of them. My mom helped me with so much. I have 2 aunties who are actually teachers and then a super smart cousin. So I was like, I need your guys' help. And everyone pitched in, helped me, and kind of just like fast tracked it because I was like, I can't do this online learning without a teacher because I don't know the materials that well. I'm not that smart. But if I fast track it and work on it like bam, 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 I can do it. And so I did. And I finished that. And then I applied to VAS, which was VAC, which was the Vancouver Acting College. Okay. And then when I applied, it was VAS, Vancouver Acting School. Okay. So it was a post-secondary, and their one requirement was a high school diploma. And then obviously if you pass their audition. And so in the audition, I just excluded the part that I didn't have my diploma yet because I still really wanted to walk the stage, have the whole grad experience, and graduate with my friends, right? Yeah, of course. I didn't want to rob myself from that experience.
That's an experience you should have for sure. So yeah, good.
I know it's not like American Prom, but it was still decent.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, I mean, exactly. It's still like the thing to do. You started with them, you should finish with them. So I think you did the right good call. So at 16, what happened? You said 16 something and you were going to get back to it. Tell me what happened at 16 years old.
Yeah, so that's when I went to college, was when I was 16.
Oh, dang.
Yes. So they accepted me and they're like, oh, wait, okay, where's your high school diploma? I was like, oh, about that. I don't have one. They're like, do you have your GD or what is it, GDL or like your GD? Yeah, that thing. I was like, no. Here's what I think should happen though, since you like want me at your school. And they only accept 30 students per semester. So it was like a very tight-knit selective school. And I was like, So honored that I got accepted. I was beaming, 16, I was so happy. But it was about this diploma. So I was like, okay, how about this? I take your courses. I told them my story. I said, like, I want to graduate with my friends. I said, I take your courses, I take your classes. You grade me just how you would. You don't give me my diploma until I give you my high school one. And then when I graduate here, we'll trade. But I can still technically graduate with everyone. And because of all the hard work I did to get there, they were like, okay, well, we kind of believe that you're going to do this. It's a very straightforward answer. So
I like the
they accepted me.
negotiation tactic. That's amazing.
Mhm.
That's amazing. So you finished? Did you finish college there?
Yeah, so I did. So I finished it. I took the fast track again, and I finished it in the 6 month program.
Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna read your intro real quick for everybody and see if this lines up. All right. So I've got a guest today. Her name is Hope. She graduated high school and college, and was a business manager for the largest MMA company in Canada by 19 years old. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And she plays piano,
Yes.
drums, guitar. She has a band. She writes music at 3 and 1, the Western Canada something. Like, you've accomplished a whole lot of things in a very short period of time, which is when I talked to you the first time why I wanted to have you on the show, because I think it's great. I get to be the first person that ever interviewed you, and there is no doubt in my mind that if you talked a college into accepting you without a high school diploma and worked your way into business manager position at 19 years old, you're going to do amazing things in this world. And I get to be saying, well, I was the first one ever had you on my podcast. See, very smart guy, right?
Thank you. Oh,
So tell me
that's
more.
so
Tell me
sweet,
about the band. Tell me
honestly.
about this. Tell me about what you're doing. I
So
know now
yeah,
you're
I
working
ended
on a
up,
music project because I gave you one.
yes, you did. And I'm actually so excited to work on that. I've been really researching all about yogasana and how it's come to be, how you have to like actually like do it and not just do it to have fun and like have the strengths, but how there's an actual study behind it. I I personally thought that was pretty cool to be able to like, because I did yoga when I was younger, like as exercise. I was like, okay, I'll try it. I'll do like a couple things I did in high school, but I never thought there was an actual like art to it or like a sport. And so when you said, hey, start doing some research on this, like this is we'd like you to write some music for this. I was like, wow, there I need to make sure that I don't mess this up.
Yeah, I was very clear, wasn't it? I was like, there's standards, there's strict stuff, there's things you got to follow. So please do your research first. And also, working with Ben and having frequency stuff going on and understanding the power of music and what it can do to the body and how it can heal. Integrating now, and like you were telling me earlier, which I did not understand any of what you're saying, but I trust you, was that it's difficult to integrate certain frequencies into certain styles of music and then trying to make it all work and make it all sound good. And so, like, it's probably going to be a really cool challenge for you. Are you excited about putting this together?
It really
Are you
is. So
up
I
for it?
also started learning how to music produce. And in order to do that, when you're mastering, you have to level out the frequencies so everything sounds good. How do you do that when you have, and Ben was super helpful because he sent me this file from, oh, I feel like I'm going to botch his name, from Ether.
Oh, Ether, the AI. Yeah.
Yes, Ether.
Ether. Yeah.
Yes, the AI.
It is.
So Ether gave him 11 different files of frequencies for me to use for albums, for you guys, just to be able to have the true 432 hertz with the music. And that's what I want to continue to produce my music in. But with those frequencies, it's going to be a whole nother challenge that I really want to start taking lessons on to be able to figure out, because when you're mastering, you have to like balance all those
Yeah.
frequencies out. So it's not like a really high frequency and then a really low frequency. Like you got to like balance it. And so when he sent me these waveforms, they're all in their own frequency. Some are super high pitched, some are super low. So I now got to figure out how to balance those all out. But I'm really excited to embark on that journey.
Well, as a closing statement could go, this is about as perfect as it gets. I don't think there's anyone who has more ambition, more drive, and more creativity to be able to accomplish what needs to be done than you do. You've clearly
Thank
done
you.
everything in life as well as anyone could ever do, and you've accomplished so much in a short period of time. I'm confident in you, and I know that you're going to deliver some amazing music. Also, you and your sister's having this band, which you guys got to go check out her band and her music on Instagram, which her handle is Hope
Mythology_3.
Mythology_3. And she's helping me
Yes.
with the project for the United States Yogasana Federation and National Championship for the music part. So I'm very excited to have you, Hope. And promotions wise, we're going to do amazing things. No doubt when you're 21, you'll be back on the ring and doing switching directions, but I'm sure you'll have a insane music career. I only hope you just remember me and, that we had this cool
Oh, of
conversation.
course. Honestly, I really have Miss K to thank because she introduced me to everyone and these opportunities, and she's always opened a door for me and been like, "Hey, here's the door, here's the next opportunity, here's the next thing you need to accomplish." And somehow I never want to disappoint her. So I'm really glad that you were able to have me on this podcast. I really appreciate it. And just this opportunity to be able to do new things with like actually doing my music and stuff, because that's always been the end goal at the end of the day is music. And now that it's going to be about positivity and actually like have meaning behind it, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you as well. We've got to realize in this world that people like me are getting older, and we got to start teaching the younger generation to do what we're doing, so that the legacy and the stuff lives on forever. And I just did a podcast the other day, and we were talking about trust and how we need to set everything in a trust so that it stays in motion forever, and that way things stay the way that they're supposed to be once we get them fixed. And so, I have no doubt that you're going to be a part of the future and make a big difference in this world as well. And I'm very happy that you came on the show. Thank you for your time. Namaste.
Of course,
You should
thank
have
you.
done that one by
Yes.
now, huh?
Yes,
Have
that's
a
a good
great
one.
day.
All right. Thank you so much again. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.